Mr. Chairman, thank you. Thank you, and Senator Blumenthal. Mr. Secretary, Secretary Gibson, thank you for your presence today. Secretary Michaud, nice to see you again. I remember positively our work on the House Veterans Affairs Committee and wish you well in the position you now occupy. Let me first begin with a compliment to a couple of folks at the VA, one of them in the room, Dr. Yehia. Thank you very much for your help, along with one of your congressional affairs persons, Jeremy Dillard. Mr. Secretary, in one of our hearings in which you were in attendance in December of last year, you offered if I would give you some examples of people who were struggling with the Choice Act that you would see that those issues were addressed. And one of them we just resolved last week, and that was in large part due to those two individuals who took this individual's case and saw the justice in my view, finding the right solution. This was an instance in which a veteran had been told by a VA physician assistant that he qualified for the Choice Act, sent him to another provider, but there was no paperwork completed by the veteran, and the VA in Kansas determined he wasn't eligible and was responsible for his own bills, despite being told by the VA physician's assistant that he needed to do what he did. So thank you for those efforts, and I know the goal is to get this to the point in which it's not one veteran at a time, but we'll take them one at a time and try to solve them as we get the system to work better. So thank you very much. Mr. Secretary, I want to talk to you about ARCH, which is a conversation that our offices have had over a period of time. When I was a House member with Secretary Michaud, I represented a congressional district larger than the state of Illinois, but has no VA hospital. In fact, almost at that time had no VA facility at all, and we pushed for outpatient clinics and were successful with the VA in providing those. But it is still long distances to an outpatient clinic, and that's in part the efforts that we've had for a long time to establish something now called the Choice Act that gives veterans more options at home.
Yes, sir.
And I continue to be supportive of that effort, but as a pathway to something like choice, we created ARCH. I introduced the legislation in the House, it became law. And it was a pilot program to determine how this might work. And I assume it's who the providers would be, how we would pay the bills, what the computer connections would be, those kind of things. And one of those pilot programs, I think there are 6 in the country, one of those is in Kansas, and so we've cared a lot about this. And what the goal here today is to make certain that those veterans who are participating in ARCH, as we move to choice, don't lose their care with the provider that they currently are seeing. And Mr. Secretary, the VA, you have made decisions that I applaud and appreciate, and that's the special provider agreements that you're going to allow ARCH veterans, those who are participating in an ARCH program, to continue their current care with their ARCH provider, and you're doing so under a proviso that allows you to do that because of excess burden. So, Mr. Secretary, I want to thank you for those efforts to take care of those who might otherwise qualify for choice, but in the process of qualifying for choice would lose the provider they have today with the VA already, and this keeps that patient contact in place into the future. And so thank you for that. I also have introduced legislation, which is one of the items that is for consideration in the committee hearing today. And it's my understanding, Mr. Secretary, that you, the VA, supports the codification of your decision, that we've worked closely with you and your staff. In fact, you've made some technical suggestions that would improve the bill, which we've agreed to. And I just want to make certain that my colleagues, the chairman, the ranking member, and my colleagues on the committee understand that this legislation has the Department of Veterans Affairs support. It's also my understanding it has the support of both the minority and the majority in this committee. So, Secretary Gibson or Doctor, if you would tell us your thoughts about this option for ARCH veterans to continue under the program.
I would be glad to, and I'll defer to Baligh if I don't get this exactly right. Yes, we are very much in favor of the legislation. I appreciate the kind remarks and the feedback that you've given. Quite frankly, this is the right thing for veterans and the right thing for taxpayers. That makes that the high ground, and we're proud to stand on that high ground with you.
Yeah, we were very supportive of that language, and we appreciate the comments and also the close collaboration we've had with your office and others to achieve that. In all honesty, ARCH is a lot of the features of ARCH is what we want in our consolidated plan as community care moves forward. So we really think of it as a model of how we progress forward. You touched on a couple key points that we want to maintain, which is that care coordination, that direct relationship between a patient and a doctor. Those are critically important. Some of those that have been missing in choice today, but we hope to fix with partnership with Congress. So thank you for that.
Doctor, Mr. Secretary, thank you.